Here back in the fantasy bar. The divisional playoffs are here, and I am here with 6 of my favorite plays, including some of the chalk that we're going to want to attack, some ways to get away from some popular plays, and a guy I think is $1,500 too cheap this week. Who is it? Belly up to the fantasy bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Divisional round, Beers Daily Fantasy Six-Pack, our final NFL six-pack of the season. Thank you, as always, for stopping by the fantasy bar, guys. I greatly appreciate it. Before we get into the plays, make sure you do me a favor. I always ask you one thing. You guys do a great job with it. Make sure you take a second, click that thumbs up button. It really helps us out. That is the tip jar here in the fantasy bar. So make sure you knock that out. Also, subscribe to the channel. Get notified when these videos are coming out. NFL may be wrapping up, but we will continue with NBA videos and MLB. Not too far away now. We'll be doing that as well. So make sure you're staying tuned here to the fantasy bar. But we are here to talk football here in the NFL playoffs. Again, 6 of my favorite plays across both FanDuel and DraftKings. As always, before we look at this week, we take a quick look back at last weekend. Some hits, some misses. Ryan Tannehill really let us down with a subpar game, but got some big outings out of our wide receivers. Jonathan Taylor was a guy that got us there. So a decent week, but we aim to do better here when we move on to the divisional round. And we're going to start at the running back position. A guy I think is going to be pretty popular, but a guy I want in my lineups as well, and that's Cam Akers of the Rams. Now, this is one of those spots. Yes, he's going to be one of the more popular, if not the most popular running back on this slate, but there's a lot of reasons why. First of all, we're getting a workhorse running back at not workhorse prices. I mean, $5,700 on DraftKings is an absolute steal. $7,000 even over on FanDuel is not enough for this guy, averaging almost 25 touches per game. So we just don't get a lot of workhorse running backs at these kind of prices. So we want to take advantage of it. And it's not like he's going to be 80% owned where we got to really think about it. This one to me is a no-brainer here. If the game gets away from the Rams, I know Green Bay, big favorites. If the Rams get behind, well, guess what? Cam Akers can chip in the receiving game as well. Multiple receptions now in 3 of the last 4 games. And outside of Kupp, Woods, the tight ends once in a while, really not a lot of huge receiving threats on this team. So he'll be involved regardless. And the matchup here, about as good as it gets with the remaining teams. We know Green Bay really struggles against the run. I do think the Rams stay competitive here. And out of all the teams left, Green Bay has allowed the most fantasy points per game to the running back position. They've tightened it up lately. The defense has been better, but still very vulnerable against the run. And Cam Akers just simply too cheap for the role he's playing right now with the Rams. All right, let's stay at running back. Let's go from a guy I think is going to be very popular to a guy I think will be off the radar this week, and that's KAREEM Hunt of the Browns. Now, very similar to Cam Akers, no matter how this game plays out, Kansas City, big 10-point favorites here. This is generally not a spot we're looking for running backs, big underdogs. But let's say Cleveland is in the game. KAREEM Hunt is going to have a role in that scenario. Let's say they fall behind. He's going to have an even more prominent role in that case. He's going to have to be the primary pass catcher. We know they go that route. Instead of relying on Nick Chubb, and it's very similar to the Rams, there's not a lot of huge pass-catching weapons here for the Cleveland Browns, really outside of Jarvis Landry, occasionally Austin Hooper. KAREEM Hunt right there is one of the best pass catchers on this team, and similar to Akers, Chiefs very bad against the run. In fact, one of the worst teams in the league, according to Football Outsiders DVOA, 31st this season were the Kansas City Chiefs against the run. So if the Browns do hang in there, I know Nick Chubb's going to get some work, but KAREEM Hunt is so cheap here, especially on DraftKings, where we can really capitalize on that receiving ability and also get the narrative here. Not going to get into the domestic violence, all that stuff, guys. Strictly football here. KAREEM Hunt returning to Kansas City. Love me some narratives here, but you add it all up. Nice cheap price tag, looking like pretty low ownership here as well. Love this spot for KAREEM Hunt going back to Kansas City. All right, let's move on to the quarterback position. We have some tremendous options on this slate, but we're going to roll with Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen. Now, again, we got a lot of guys to choose from at this position. Wish we could roster multiple quarterbacks. Get Lamar Jackson on the other side. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes. We're all going to love him in that spot against Cleveland. Aaron Rodgers here on this slate against the Rams. But it's Josh Allen who kind of falls in the middle range of the pricing here on DraftKings, but a guy that's delivered a lot of ceiling games for us lately. In fact, 34 more DraftKings points now in 4 of the last 6 games. Did it last week against a tough defense in the Indianapolis Colts. And I know weather, a big concern. Lamar Jackson has come out and said he's never played in the snow before. Well, Josh Allen, very familiar with the snow. Buffalo, college in Wyoming. I don't think this is really going to affect Josh Allen as much as it will Lamar Jackson. And when you look at the ownership, Patrick Mahomes, again, justified. I'm going to have some Mahomes, but he's looking like he's going to be 30% owned here. Josh Allen, potentially about half of that. I'll gladly take that discount for a guy that can get me close to what Mahomes can do. In fact, would not shock me to see Josh Allen be the highest scoring quarterback on this slate, even in the weather. We know he loves to run, and he can get multiple rushing touchdowns here, even against a tough Baltimore defense. All right, we like Josh Allen. Who do we pair him with? Stephon Diggs would be too easy. Let's go to the other side of the ball with some correlation with tight end Mark Andrews. Now you want to go Diggs with Allen, no problem. He's underpriced on DraftKings again. Thought that was too easy. We're going to go to Mark Andrews, who, yes, he'll have some ownership here, but he's a hell of a consolation prize if you can't get up to Travis Kelce, who, if you can find the money, no doubt, Travis Kelce, the top tight end play on this slate. But we know Mark Andrews has been that second tight end, and it's been inconsistent with Mark Andrews. But let's think back to last week. It was a guy in Jack Doyle who broke the slate. If you had Jack Doyle, you probably did pretty well on this slate. And that was not a fluke. This Buffalo team has really struggled against the tight end position. In fact, bottom 5 in receptions, receiving yards, and fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. So even if there is snow, even if Lamar Jackson does not want to play in the snow, I still think Mark Andrews is going to be heavily involved, especially around the red zone. I think there'll be points scored in this game regardless. I think Andrews is going to be a big part of that here for the Baltimore Ravens offense. All right, let's move on to the wide receiver position. A guy I think could go completely overlooked in the mid-range, and that's Antonio Brown of Tampa. Now, Antonio been a touchdown maker here. We got to look at it and say this guy's scoring every single week. In fact, it's 4 straight games now that he has found the end zone, 5 total touchdowns over that time frame. And we look at this matchup here, and we know Mike Evans has had tons of issues with the New Orleans Saints. Marshawn Lattimore owns real estate in Mike Evans' head. So if we take him out of the game, that leaves Chris Godwin, who I like as well, but leaves Antonio Brown, who's a little bit cheaper than both of those guys. And going to get some highly owned wide receivers in that middle range. Going to have a lot of ownership on Jarvis Landry as some running backs with Kansas City stacks. You're going to have ownership on Hollywood Brown coming off his big game. Antonio Brown, just a nice pivot who has had some massive upside games here. I think there'll be more points than Vegas is even saying in this game. And if Tampa's playing from behind, we know that's even better things for Antonio Brown. So again, add it all up here. I think he's too cheap. The Mike Evans matchup scares me with Lattimore. That's going to open up more opportunities here. And again, if they're playing from behind, look out. Antonio Brown in for a big day here against this Saints secondary. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play for the slate. But before we do that, guys, we want to continue our Beast of the Week contest absolutely free. A thank you to you guys. All you got to do is guess fantasy points on DraftKings for my favorite play of the week for your shot at 1 week of free RG Premium or a free RotoGrinders t-shirt. So let's wrap it up. Let's wrap up the season. The final play here in the NFL 6-pack. You know him as the Beast of the Week. All right, Beast time. We owe you one more wide receiver. We're going to go to the other side of that game with some correlation. We're going to roll with wide receiver Michael Thomas, this week's Beast of the Week. Now, this one very simple for me. Obviously, we know Michael Thomas, a huge part of this New Orleans offense, but mainly it's the pricing here. Let's think about some of the prices that we've paid for Michael Thomas last year. And yeah, maybe he's not the same guy, but $6,700 on DraftKings remains an absolute steal. $7,200 on FanDuel, an absolute steal. Both of these prices at least $1,000 underpriced, probably more like $1,500 underpriced. So I'm going to take advantage of it. And he's easily my favorite of the high-end receivers. You guys know I love me some Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, no doubt. But when we factor in price, Michael Thomas stands head and shoulders above the rest here for me. And we know Tampa, very similar to New Orleans in the fact that they're better against the run here. In fact, Tampa have been pretty vulnerable against wide receivers, allowing the 5th most receptions to that position. And we know the Chiefs going to score a bunch of points. Just talked about Tyreek Hill. But the Saints, second highest projected total on this slate at almost 4 touchdowns here. So there will be points in this game, but the main point, Michael Thomas drastically underpriced. Yes, he's going to have ownership. Lock him into your cash games and tournaments. There's a ton of upside here. Michael Thomas, easily my favorite play on the divisional weekend and this week's Beast of the Week. All right, guys, that'll wrap us up here for our look at the divisional playoffs with 6 of my favorite plays on FanDuel and DraftKings. And that will wrap us up for this NFL season as well. Before we get out of here, I just want to take a second and send some thank yous out to the team over at RotoGrinders who works hard behind the scenes. My guy Simon, not with us anymore, but a guy that's put a ton of work into these videos over the years. So wanted to send a shout out to him. And of course, my main man, Devin, producing behind the scenes here on the video. Thank you for all your hard work as well. And of course, a big thank you to you guys, each and every one of you that watches the videos, that comments on the videos, positive, negative, I don't care. I appreciate the views. I appreciate the discussion here. We've had some hits, we've had some misses, but hopefully you found some entertainment here in these videos. And again, want to say salut to you guys. Appreciate you checking them out. Love doing these videos. Glad that you guys enjoy watching them. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut. Best of luck this weekend, guys. Thank you again for a great football season. NBA will continue on with videos twice a week. And of course, the DFS OG show on Wednesday night with Head Chopper, Notorious, and myself breaking down all the NBA action every Wednesday night, 5:30 to 6:30. And one more final DFS OG's podcast over on RotoGrinders, breaking down this entire divisional slate. Thank you again for watching, guys. Best of luck here. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs, and good luck.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist